Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is High Octane. I'm your host, Bob, and this is an extremely exciting episode. This is obviously the 1-year anniversary of the podcast, so we're excited about that. We also have another reason why we're excited. I don't know. We'll get into that in just a moment. I want to welcome everyone back. We had some technical difficulties, so that's why we're late, but I apologize for that. We got everything figured out. My guest is ready to come on. He's excited. I'm excited. We're all excited. Like I said, 1-year anniversary today marks that. So we're excited. Everybody, welcome back. All new listeners, thank you for joining us. I hope we entertain. My guest is he's awesome for doing this. So without any more ado, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to introduce him right now. Mr. Andy Pilgrim, welcome, my friend.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good I am well. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. Excellent.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you on. So what's been going on? Tell us about you.
What's been going on? It's been a bit busy. Very recently, coming up to Christmas, I was over in Abu Dhabi and Dubai with some Draco experimental EV vehicle, 1,200 horsepower, 4 motors. And I got to run on the Dubai Autodrome, which was fun. And then at Yas Marina, which I'd never been to. I'd done the Dubai 24-hour before, so I was refamiliarized with that one. But the Yas Marina is just so spectacular. You can't even describe it. I mean, Coda is an amazing F1 track. It's a great place to go, and it's very modern. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But Yas Marina is just out of this world. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. And that was a great experience to do that.
Yeah,
plus
I'm sure.
Plus the Draco is nuts. 4 motors, a torque vectoring system, which is completely premium and unique to that car, which allows a very heavy electric vehicle to handle like a Mazda Miata with slicks. It's just amazing. It's just amazing fun I had over there. Dodged COVID with a team of about 9 people, of which 5 ended up getting it. Unfortunately, I was not unfortunate. One of them. Yeah, it was, and they 3 of them unfortunately had to stay there quarantined over the holiday, missed Christmas, which is such a sad deal. So, and we had Daytona, raced the Ferrari at Daytona with some bunch of fun pro guys, with all kinds of guys, Owen Trinkler and others. Had a fun time at Daytona with
I'm sure you did.
Championship before I went over there. So December was really boring, and then I came home and did Christmas. So it was like a nice, relaxing time over Christmas.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds super fun. All 3 of those tracks you mentioned, I obviously haven't been to them. I've obviously most certainly have not driven on them, but I'm a little bit of a gamer, so I know them in the virtual world. Coda is fun. I've in the video games, obviously I've driven on both those tracks in the UAE. They're both fun. Yas Marina's, it's difficult, but yeah, it is a fun track.
It's fast. I mean,
and especially in a car like that, I didn't know the Draco was that powerful. I didn't even know it was fully electric, actually, to be honest.
It's heavy. It doesn't have downforce, but you've got weight, which equals downforce on 2 tires on a racetrack like that. It was fast enough to get your attention all the way around. It was great. Yeah, it was fun.
I would imagine. That sounds good, man. Real quick, we're not going to waste too much time doing this. We're going to do What Are We Drinking real fast. So let's do that. Okay, so like I said, we're not going to waste too much time on this. I want to get into the whole meat of the episode. I am drinking. Actually, you can go first, sir.
Cup of tea, mate. Cup of tea.
Hey, that's totally fine. I've grown to have an appreciation. I've grown to have a huge appreciation for tea. I don't like iced tea, but yeah, like legit tea. Yeah, I can get down with some tea. I tried to find something from where you're from, but nowhere here has it. So I bought the next best thing. I got, I don't know if you can see it, Plymouth Gin. Yeah, this was made, this is distilled in London, England. It's really good. I've never had it before, but yeah, that was the next best thing that I could find from your homeland, sir.
Well, cheers to you.
Yeah,
cheers to
absolutely.
You.
Cheers, and
cheers
thank you again. Thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you doing this.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Absolutely. Enthusiasts. I've always said racing the car on the race weekends is so much fun, and we get to do it sometimes more of the time than others. But when we're out of the car, meeting the enthusiasts and the fans that come by is actually what makes the racing, has made it for me such a wonderful career, for sure. Meeting so many great people.
I can only imagine you live a lot of people's dream. So I can only imagine how fun that is. I mean, it can't even seem like work.
Well, as old as I am now, the fact that people still call me and, still pay me to drive race cars is something pretty special. And so I'm extraordinarily grateful for that at my old age. And this year is going to be, 14 or 15 race weekends, which is, I'm really looking forward to. The 2 different teams, and it's going to be fun. So that sounds very fortunate, very grateful.
Yeah, it sounds like a really full schedule and a lot of fun. So
yes, for sure.
All right, so we're gonna get right into it. I have some prepared questions for you. Not all of these are from me. I did come up with a lot of them, but some of them were suggestions from people I know. So I'm just gonna get right into it. My first question for you is, how did you get started in racing, and what was it you first raced?
Okay. The first start in racing of anything was on motorcycles. My family didn't have the means or the money or anything like that to put me in go-karts or put me on, motorcycles. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't possible. But I had an interest from cars in particular when I was very young. When I was old enough and came out of school, I was a computer programmer. As soon as I was earning a paycheck, I basically had a secondhand motorcycle, and that 7-year-old Kawasaki H1 500 2-stroke motorcycle. I stuck numbers on it and either rode it to the racetrack or paid a friend of mine gas money to take me and drop me off at the racetrack where whatever was close. And because he had a bread van, and he did a bread round at like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So he's done the bread round. He comes to pick me up, and we put it in the back. I had the best smelling motorcycle in the paddock. It's not like bread. Everybody's coming around the bike going, "Where's the bread? Where's the bread?" So he dropped me off at the race, and then he'd leave. And so I was just there literally with the bike. If I didn't ride it there, I got dropped off at the racetrack. And that's how I started, was motorcycle racing, but I paid for it myself. Started winning races almost immediately. I had been to, there's a guy called Steve Henshaw. Sadly, Steve died at the Isle of Man in 1989. Steve was the manager of the Kawasaki dealership in the town I lived in, Nottingham. And Steve saw me riding like a moron on the street. And he basically, when I saw me next time at the dealership, he basically almost put me up on against a wall and was like, listen, you get your rear end on a racetrack because you're just going to kill yourself.
Right.
Think you fast, get on a racetrack. If I see you riding like a moron again, you won't be happy. And I was like, scared to death to start with. But it was really Steve that put that in my head that, you know what, I need to think about this. And when I started earning more money, rather than working at a gas station while I was still in college, it was like, okay, put numbers on the bike and started racing. So it was bikes to start with, economically speaking. It was 7 years old bike. It was not worth a whole lot. But started winning races against guys with new bikes. And for whatever reason, I had some natural talent, I suppose. There was no coaching then. There was no nothing. You just did it. You wore an orange jacket for the first 6 weekends. And normally speaking, by the time you were done with the 6 weekends of Orange Jacket, the jacket was like falling apart because you'd fallen off several times. So I did that, started winning some races. After 2.5 years, I came to the States. I got offered a job as a computer programmer in the States, sold everything I owned, and including bikes, paid off bills, everything, came to the US with $106 in my pocket and a job as a programmer.
Wow.
That was in 1981. Didn't know anybody, but I had a job. Didn't know I wasn't going to pay for the first 3 weeks. That was pretty rough.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up your first job. Actually, your first job was with Pontiac for General Motors.
Yes, in the US, yes.
Yeah. When you first got here, and that's cool because I work for General Motors.
Ah, okay. Where?
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Where was that?
In Spring Hill, Tennessee.
Okay.
The assembly plant down here.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. So we have one thing in common. We both work for General Motors. I think that's really cool.
I've worked I worked at General Motors because I was a contractor. So I was one of those guys who was a contract. They bring you in as a contractor. So I worked at Pontiac for a year. And then I got moved south. I went from Pontiac in the middle of winter, 1981, which was, minus 40 degrees, down to El Paso, Texas was my next job. Basically, first 3 years, I wasn't racing cars or anything. I was just working full time.
Right.
But I had a $500 Chevy Malibu Classic that I bought from somebody in Michigan. So nice. It was held together with rust.
There you go.
But it lasted 45,000 miles. I mean, and it was amazing. Put secondhand tires on it. I bought tires from a place in El Paso, $5 a tire. Secondhand. Find the ones that you had a bit more tread on them, and rode that thing 45,000 miles before I got my first ever new car, and that was in 1983. Was a Volkswagen Rabbit GTI.
Right. That was actually. So that was actually going to be another question that I wanted to ask you. So you switched race, like in your racing career from 2 to 4, you said in 83. Okay. So
84 when I started.
Okay. It was 84.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no racing when I came here. I had no money to race when I came to the States. There was a dream to race cars, and it was literally economically was the restriction. It always is in racing, right? But the GTI, how I even got involved, because I'm all over the States, is so huge. There's no road racing in El Paso, Texas. And I was on contract there for over 2 years. But while I was there, I mean, it's just a happenstance thing. I was going down I-10, passing a mall, when I saw a C3 Corvette flying across this parking lot, just caught my attention. And there were cones in the parking lot. It was an autocross. I got off, went around, asked what was going on. There was like 25 cars there, people with different classic cars. And all. That was my introduction to SCC, autocross.
Right.
In El Paso. That autocrossing in 1983 was the first kind of quote unquote competition. And I just drove in my GTI. I just drove in my GTI in those little things. In the autocross events in El Paso. That was my first competition of any kind on 4 wheels. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I've been to like car shows and stuff that have autocross, and it's actually really cool to watch. Just any person can take whatever the hell they have and just take it out on the track and give it all it's worth. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, I think that's a really cool way to kind of introduce yourself into racing. Even though it's you are competing, but you're not competing directly with people, I guess. So yeah, I think
it's against the clock, but you are and you aren't. Right. It's like qualifying, right? Every lap is qualifying.
Right.
So it's like qualifying,
And then after, so you like your first competitive racing, I guess, series you could call it was what was it? The IMSA Renault Cup, correct?
Yes, correct.
And in that, I didn't look a ton into it, but in that, you won Rookie of the Year. Is that correct? Yeah.
1984, the end of 83, I'd been doing autocross. Autocross in El Paso means you drive miles.
Right.
Clovis, New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico, believe it or not, Alien Central. It was out there. They used an old airfield out there,
Right.
which I think they had like 7 cones and 3 half-mile straightaways in a triangle with like 7 cones. I mean, it was just flat out.
There you go.
I mean, it was ridiculous. It was hysterical. It was great. Running the Rabbit around there, the Volkswagen, guy called Jim Pettengill, who wrote for Grassroots Autosports, he lived in Roswell. And he was the guy that saw me running the GTI and said, hey, do you race? I said, no, I don't race. And he basically talked to me about bits and pieces. The next time I went back to Roswell, he showed me in Grassroots an advertisement. A guy in Vegas was selling a secondhand Renault Cup car. And he said, this would be a series you might want to think about. It's entry level, it's professional. You race for money, you don't race for trophies.
Right.
And this car's $6,500. The new ones are like 12 grand. That's essentially that. I called the guy, ended up buying the car. The car was street legal, so I could drive it to the racetrack.
There you go.
And that was the whole point. I didn't have a truck or trailer or anything else. So that's essentially how it started. And that was a West Coast series. And that year, you were correct. I did win Rookie of the Year. I managed to keep my nose clean. Yeah. Otherwise, I was taking the best home,
So going back to your Rookie of the Year thing, how did that make you feel? Like, this is your first year of competitive racing. You're getting paid. How'd that make you feel?
Well, paid in the sense of you win $500, and it meant that you instead of sleeping in the car, you slept in a hotel room with 12 other guys. And you could eat, and you could afford to put some new tires on the car instead of running secondhand ones from the race before. I mean, literally speaking, it was getting some money. And $500 when a set of tires was 146 was a lot. It meant an awful lot. I still have the Hippo trophy that they provided at that time. I still have that in the trophy room. It meant a tremendous amount.
Absolutely.
And I mean, insanity, really, when you think about it. You lived in Dallas, Texas, and you're doing a West Coast series. I ended up leading the car on the West Coast with the guy that won the championship. Mitch Wright won the championship that year. He also owned a shop. I really got really smart real quick, right? I mean, you live in Dallas. Your first race is in Riverside, California. You're driving 1,400 miles to the race and then 1,400 miles back. Insane. So pretty quick, I basically kept the car on the West Coast and then would fly out there and then pick it up and drive it, or fly, drive it to the races. So it was a great series. And as I said, I managed to keep my nose clean, which was huge, because lots of guys, they crashed the cars. It was their chance to get into racing, and they crashed the cars. They never came back. That was it.
Yeah, that's tough.
They spent the savings. That was their shot, and they never came back.
Yeah, that's really tough.
It's just reality, mate.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. Okay, so
have the deep pockets, of course.
Deep pockets do definitely help. So all right, so after the Renault Cup, you obviously advanced on, and I looked at a lot of stuff on your website. So like later in the 80s, you joined a team. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
And you drove what, some Corvettes around that time?
Yeah, Corvettes. There was the Corvette Challenge Series in 1988 and 89.
Okay,
that was a team that I put together with Hal Bayer, who became the Hal Bayer of Bayer Racing Brakes. Bart Spivey was his sort of partner at that time. They crewed the car. We were begging for sponsorship money, all along the way, winning money and putting the money right back into the team. But they paid pretty good. You won a race, it was like $10,000.
Wow.
And that was huge, because that would pay for the next race or two and, all the rest of it. But Corvette Challenge, also Tommy Morrison Motorsports, with John Heinersee, Stu Hayner, guys that, well known. Those guys sort of were already established, and I was kind of coming up, and got to race with them, teammates with them, and we got to win some stuff. Tommy Morrison's gone now, the late Tommy Morrison. His teams were very, very well respected in that form of racing, which was sort of Trans Am-ish to World Challenge Series, modified cars, the Corvette compared to a Renault with 50 horsepower, which wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. And then you go into something that's got 300 or 400 horsepower. It was like, my eyes were like this, like, wow.
Yeah.
To me, it was just unbelievably quick,
It's a huge jump in performance and all that.
Sure.
So you became a U.S. citizen in 1998.
1998. You're right. That's exactly right.
That's awesome. So, okay, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about like your reaction. How did it feel? Whatever. How did that make you feel, becoming citizen of the U.S.?
Yeah. I had been a green card holder because of the programming. It wasn't, it was fairly easy to get a green card, and I was in the green card situation. And by 1998, I was sort of becoming established. I actually, instead of living in apartments and stuff, I actually bought a little house. And I thought, you know what, this country is giving me so many opportunities.
Right.
I now want to be able to vote. Essentially, it was like, I think it's my responsibility at this point. And very fortunately, America and the UK have an agreement. You don't lose your UK citizenship per se. You end up with a dual citizenship in a way. But I am a US citizen now, and fully US citizen. And I wanted to vote and contribute in that way as well.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I did it in Miami, and it was a very, it was a pretty emotional day, to be honest, because genuinely speaking, this country has given me amazing opportunities. I came here with very, very little, lots of energy. And, it's the opportunities have been tremendous. So.
That's awesome. I'm very happy for you in that, in that respect. I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. You talked about, you were in IT when you first came to the country, and that's what you did for GM when you first came here. What actually got you into IT? Was that just something that you liked doing? Was it, just something that you had to do to make money? What got you into that?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do out of school, to be quite honest. I wasn't sure. I ended up with a scholarship to do physics at university. And essentially, I didn't really feel that wasn't a way I really wanted to go. And when I had an opportunity to get into this new fledgling thing of computer programming, because it was quite new back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was still very new.
Yeah.
You were still dealing with, a gigabyte was unheard of. There was like a gigabyte of data in the whole world, at that point. It was like, you were programming in, 1K of storage. You were trying to make programs work in 1K of storage. It's just bizarre now with how much there is. But that interested me, and that essentially was it. I was not a computer geek at that point because you didn't have computers at home. There was no such thing at that point. It was just in those early 80s, late 70s, it was just starting.
Right. I was actually going to kind of poke at you, ask if you were a nerd, but you answered that question for me.
I am a semi-nerd. I'm a semi-nerd for sure. I'm a nerd, but not yeah. A computer programmer, you can't get away with saying no.
Hey, we all have a little nerd in us, and it's okay to admit it. I'm a nerd. I like comic books, so.
Oh, wait, there you go. See. Uh-huh.
There you go. I like Dragon Ball Z too. Hey, I was into it. I'm still into it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on
big that. Anime fan, yeah.
I'm with you. All right. So this is gonna bring us up. I'm gonna do this a little bit different. I normally save wheel talk for after we talk for a little while, but I'm gonna make it a two-parter. So I'm gonna make this is gonna be the first part. So let's do that real quick. Wheel talk, bro. Okay, so the first part of this wheel talk question I'm going to ask you is, all right, so you came here in 81, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Came here in 81.
Landed in New York, yeah.
Okay, you came here in 81 and you became a citizen in 98. So that's 17 years.
Yes.
Give me your impression of American vehicles from that span.
Interesting. I was, I was very interested in cars, so it was quite interesting. I went to Pontiac. Obviously, at that time, they were making the Pontiac Trans Am with the Firebird on the hood.
Absolutely.
The Burt Reynolds, the Bandit car, and all that stuff.
Yeah, the screaming chicken.
It was all.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, it was, and they also. I was talking to fellow nerds or whatever in there, and they were talking about the fact that. They were asking me questions like, in Europe, you guys have got very small cars, and there was a general consensus in there that Americans will never buy small cars. And it was interesting to talk about that. And then they came out with the T1000 Pontiac, that little Pontiac. And it was, it wasn't particularly well received, I suppose. And it was interesting, the culture of the time with the big Pontiac Bonnevilles and all that stuff was big car. No way will, small cars take off, but of course they did. So it was been very interesting at that point in early 80s like that. So that was definitely something that's interesting. And of course there was, the Japanese car makers were not, big at all at that time. They were just starting to come in. Right. And of course in Detroit area, they weren't particularly popular at all at that time.
Yeah.
But it's been very interesting to see in racing terms, the appearance of the other manufacturers, whether they were German manufacturers or Asian manufacturers coming into racing. That was not much there at that time. And then, but sure enough, by the mid 80s into the mid 90s, things changed dramatically, and it was just a tremendous change that I was witness to in the racing paddock as much as on the streets.
Right.
Very interesting. I mean,
Okay. Well, nice. All right. So my next question, that's going to do it for Wheel Talk Part 1. Next question, back to your career. And up until now, current, over your entire career, you've got 5 world championships. Is that correct? 5
professional championships, I call it. Yeah, not world so much, but 5 professional championships, which would be like North American professional championships.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got 69 race wins under your belt. Is that also correct?
That's probably, it's more like 82 at this point. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That might be an old number you found somewhere. Yeah, it's more like,
okay. You might have to update. Definitely have to update that one because
it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah, I know last year you've racked up a few more. I did look at that. Congratulations, by the way. So over,
it's been fun.
Yeah. Over that span, just give us a couple of your most memorable wins, maybe one of the championship years that you won. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the first 24-hour win at Daytona was huge. Running with Joachim Rohr in the 911 GT2, GT1 car at that time. That was fantastic. Hard fought win with the champion Porsche guys, the factory, if you want to call it the factory car, with Hans Stuck and Bill Adam and other guys in that car. And then we managed to get that win. That was a very memorable win for sure. I think that year I went on to win the championship, and I got to run with Alan McNish before he went into Formula One. And that was, we became very, very good friends, and we still are good buddies. And he is just one of the most incredible drivers I've ever driven around. And I've driven around some amazing drivers, but he's certainly one of the top ones. Again, it's just been incredible to run with Alan in that. But also the Earnhardts, obviously the Earnhardts, running with the Earnhardts has been something that many, many people have asked me questions about. And
that's actually,
it was a great honor. It was a great honor to run with them for sure.
Yeah, that's that was a question I was going to ask in just a minute. But yeah, I mean, if you want to elaborate on it right now, go for it.
No, we can. I mean, we can go in the order, whatever you want, mate. It's just again, you're talking memories. First win, first professional win in 1986 was big, and it was a Pontiac Trans Am in the
Nice.
Firestone Firehawk Championship, 1986, and that was I still remember it, huge. Being top step of the podium, and it was amazing. It's amazing. I can't remember all of the highlights.
Right.
You say when you try to think of some highlight, those stand out tremendously.
Yeah, as long as you've been racing, I mean, you're going on 40 years. So yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough to remember all.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I didn't start till 27. First time I got in a car was 27 years old, which is really late.
Right.
And to be thinking that you've driven factory teams and factory supported teams for this long is quite. I feel extraordinarily grateful. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, like I said earlier, you're living a lot of people's dreams. So kudos to you. My next question has to do with the 24 Hour of Le Mans.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one of the most iconic endurance races out there, probably the most actually. You've podiumed there 5 times, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about that. I'm so jealous of you because I love that track. Obviously, never raced it, never been there, but in virtual world, I do know it. So tell me about Le Mans.
First opportunity came in 1996. A team out of New Zealand, new hardware guys, got a phone call, and it's basically running with Stefan Ortelli, who was a great Porsche Cup driver and a GT driver already at the time. And I didn't have that much experience at all in Porsche 911s. And get this team, Le Mans, can you get yourself there? You're going to have to spend a little bit of money to get there. But bottom line is we want you to race. And I'm like, yeah, I'll walk and swim if I have to. I'll be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that the first time on the track, it's honestly, Bob, it's just, it's awe-inspiring. Because you're the slowest class for starters. So these people are passing you at some insane speeds.
Well,
it's great. And then the nighttime, and it's I can't see anything. You're overdriving the headlights by 100 miles an hour. And it's like you're just kind of peering into this darkness, trying to see what you can't really see. And, there were so many experiences from that first year, but we made it through. And we ended up that first race, we ended up in 4th place in class, just missed getting in the top 3. But the other time since then, got on the podium 5 more times. And being on that podium, looking down that front straightaway when there's 100,000+ people that get on the straightaway for the podium at the end of the race, which is just a wonderful to have that opportunity. And of course, 96, 97, and then I got the call from Corvette to become a factory driver with them. And part of the reason was because of my experience at Le Mans and then going back with Corvette. Well, that was, their first time back since, the 60s, 50s, 60s. And that was so special because the interest from the enthusiasts there were the French people, the French enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
The interest level was massive for Corvette. It was amazing. They'd seen the Dodge Vipers, but then we got there with the Corvette. And I'll never forget being surrounded by all these people outside the garage. The first practice session was going to start, and I'm sitting in the car. I have the honor, starting the first, 2 Corvettes, obviously, but I'm going to drive our car first. And all these guys are there with cameras, and they're sitting around the car and standing there. And then it's time to fire up the car. And they say, okay, fire the car. And that thing was loud.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah.
And when it blasted these people's faces, it was like, oh yeah, like this. They were having a great time. It was so many memories like that are just worth $1 million each,
Yeah, I like I said, that's a bucket list thing. There's a few things over there that I want to do, and that is definitely one of them. I want to visit Le Mans.
Well, it's worth it. It's worth it.
I would imagine. We're actually we're planning a trip to Europe in a few years, and we want to go to the Monaco Grand Prix. We want to travel. We want to kind of make a loop, visit some places over there. We want to go to Amsterdam and a few other places. We want to visit the Nurburgring, the Autobahn, all that.
Nurburgring, yes.
And we're gonna get to that. That's another one of my questions. But yeah, that's all. I have a lot of bucket list things, and what you said about Dubai, that's another one. I definitely want to hit that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned Dale Earnhardt earlier, and I want to talk briefly about that. I know you raced with him. Just kind of elaborate a little bit more about that. What was that experience like?
It's sort of a chapter of the receiving a letter from him after the Petit Le Mans win, where the pass that I made on the Viper to win the race with like 2 laps to go was the pass of the week on RPM tonight, and I end up sitting at home writing emails to Corvette fans that are racing stuff, and I'm sitting there and I get a letter, FedEx, and it ends up being a letter from Dale Earnhardt, basically saying, "Hey man, that was some pass you made on the Viper. You obviously know how to rub fenders, so I can't teach you that. Now you've got to teach me how to drive that Corvette. Looking forward to seeing you. Can't wait to race with you at the Daytona 24 Hours next year." And this is October 2000 in February 2021. And I'm like, what? I mean, I had no idea. And so, of course, I called the team. That's how it started. And I called the team manager and said, "I just got a letter from Dale Earnhardt." And it's like, he says, right. Well, you can't say anything for 3 weeks. You and I and Doug Feehan are going to go out to meet him, and it's all going to be released and all that stuff. And that's how it started. It was just amazing. And when I met him the first time, he was just welcoming, humble, happy, funny guy. And it was just, we became friends. And it was a 4.5 month friendship to an incredible, tragic ending. And I was there at Daytona.
Yeah.
And I was the last person to speak to him on the radio.
Really?
On the radio during the green, before they went back to green, when tragically minutes later he was taken. I was talking to him under the yellow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I had no idea about that. I mean, wow. When you said that you got the letter from him and it kind of like made your eyes pop out of your head.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt when you called me.
Well, that's very kind.
No, I'm honestly, for real, I won't dwell on this for a long time, but the reason Andy's even here is because I went to a charity event last April, and he was the guest speaker, and I really didn't even think about it until my girlfriend Jess mentioned it, to send you an email just to see what would happen. And I put it off, figuring you were probably a little bit too busy, because you are a busy man. But I finally just said, whatever. And I sent the email, and about 3 weeks, I sent the email expecting nothing. No disrespect. I just, you're a busy man. And about 3 weeks later, I get a random phone call, which I answered very rudely.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. Yeah,
I'm so glad that you felt. I'm very glad. I'm very glad you thought that was funny, because I did. I answered it so rudely, and you started giggling, and I started giggling after that, and I was like, all right, this guy's.
Right there, I said, I'm not trying to sell you an extended warranty on your car, mate.
Yeah. And then, from then on, we talked a few times, and, here we are. So like I said, though, the first time you called me, it was just like, it was surreal. Like, I just, for a second, I was like, is this really happening? Like, seriously. So I'm sure your reaction to the Dale Earnhardt letter was probably a little bit more elevated than that. But I mean,
it was disbelief. I mean, it was total disbelief. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe it. You know,
I believe it.
It was just like that. It was just like that. I won't say
absolutely
you had, but it was like, you gotta be kidding me. So, you know, oh
I
yeah.
I 100% believe you. Believe me.
Yeah.
Okay, so not yet. So okay, you've obviously been racing for going on 40 years. And I'm sure you've raced on just about every track possible or that there is.
Many, for sure. Yeah.
If not, there probably aren't too many that you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
But of all the tracks that you've been on, racing competitively or testing or whatever, what's your favorite track and why?
Proviso on that. Nürburgring doesn't count, and
Right.
Bathurst doesn't count.
Okay.
You know, I had the opportunity to be on Nürburgring. I had the opportunity to be on Bathurst. They are standouts as being so different. They don't really compare to any other track, but they are amazing.
Right.
So if you take those two out of the equation, the Monza in Italy, I got to race there a few times in a Lamborghini in 1999, and that has sort of instantly become my favorite track. I'd love to go back and do anything there again. I'd ride a bicycle around there, but it's amazing. It's just suits my preferences in racetracks. Really fast, sweeping on the edge corners is my favorite type of track. So I love that track. That is an incredible track. In North America, though, and this is, you asked, I don't know, you've asked probably every driver, period, whether they're amateur, pros, or whatever. Elkhart Lake is going to be in the top 3, and it's certainly my favorite track in North America is Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
Oh, it's in Wisconsin. I was going to ask you where that is. I've never heard of that. Okay.
Road America. Maybe you've heard it as Road America.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I definitely know Road America. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Fantastic track. I love that track. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something else. So, and it's definitely one of the best in the world also. But like I say, Yas Marina now just suddenly popped right up there. That's fast.
It's fast. It's technical.
It's amazing. Amazing.
I know all 3 Monzas. It is fast, but it's difficult to
Parabolica is so amazing. Parabolica there is so amazing. It's technical fast, and that's awesome. And the straightaway, and the front straightaway is so long. I mean, you're just barreling down to that first chicane. It's incredible. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you can see on the side over here, but we're getting a lot of interaction from people watching. There was a question that came in. A guy I work with actually wants to know about racing with Cadillac, because that's what we do down here in Spring Hill. Yeah, I know that you've raced 3 different types of Cadillacs. I love Cadillac personally, but tell us a little bit about that.
Again, on Corvette program, the end of the program for me, they said, hey, we've got something for you at Cadillac. And I was lucky enough to get on that Cadillac program from the get-go. Max Angelelli was there. Max Pappas was there. Ron Fellows was there. John Heinrich came through. Johnny O'Connell came through. I mean,
name dropping right there.
Jordan Taylor was there. I mean, talk about teammates just from Cadillac. It was great.
There you go.
Amazing. I mean, the first generation car was incredible. I mean, we got a 1-2 in the first race, which is probably the worst thing we ever could have done ever. By winning the first race, it was like, we suddenly instantly get, slapped with all kinds of things. But being part of that program for as long as I was, through all 3 generations was, again, just incredible. I mean, to be a factory driver from that point, which was, I don't know, what was it, 2004, all through 2015. And with just 2 years, when they weren't running the program for 2 years of 2009 and 10. And then I got picked up by Volvo for 2 years on their factory program in North America.
I remember seeing the Volvos.
Randy coached. Yeah. So that Cadillac program was fantastic. Running with the Pratt Miller guys, the engineers, that talent in that program,
I know. I know Cadillac's had
Oh,
a lot of success in racing
amazing.
ever since the CTS-V came, you know, and
Yeah.
then they transitioned from the sedan to the coupe once they
Mhm.
changed the design, and then the ATS,
Yeah.
which I've owned an ATS, and they're awesome. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine racing one.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Now the ATS, the year I was there, the last year I was with Cadillac before Michael Cooper came in to the team in 2016. That my last year was 2015, and that was the first year of the ATS. The car was sort of in development that year,
Okay.
but it was like the first year of the proper GT3 cars, if you like, for Cadillac.
Right.
Johnny and I had been pushing really hard with a great car, the Gen 2 car, but when it started, the Gen 2 car didn't have ABS, and suddenly a lot of the cars that were qualified GT3 cars had ABS. We got ABS. We didn't have the pure downforce in the car that some of the GT3 cars did. So that was something that, and yet again, the Pratt & Mir engineers did such an amazing job of bringing that Generation 2 car from essentially GT cars with no ABS, very little traction control, certainly not paddle shifters. And then by the end, 2014, the car was still competitive with pretty strong GT3 cars. And then the ATS came along that was a pure GT3 car. So again, the privilege of being part of that transition and progression was incredible. Really amazing privilege. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing fun. The cars were awesome fun. They loud,
Yeah.
cars.
I mean, I can only imagine, being there in person and hearing and seeing those things perform. I can only imagine.
They were fun to drive too. Yeah.
I would say so. Okay, so my dad had this question for you. I was going to bring it up anyway, but this one comes from my dad. He wants to know your personal opinion of the Nurburgring.
A humongous challenge to learn.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah, I got to do 2 races there and was supposed to do the 24-hour race. We qualified, did all the bits and pieces, the night practice, amazing. And then unfortunately, the car didn't make it through the first session, had some problems. So I didn't get to do the whole 24, but I did 2 other races prior to that to qualify to get in there. Oh my gosh, what a place. I mean, it's narrow, it's bumpy. The video games don't do it justice.
Oh, I can only imagine.
If you go over there, certainly drive it, but it'll be interesting to see what you think, because it actually is quite disorienting, because that's one place where I bought a video game literally just to make sure that I had an idea of the lefts and rights before I got there, because the guys I was going there with already knew the track a little bit, some of them. And so I said, well, let me try and get up to speed as quick as I possibly can. But when you do the video game, you're either sitting in a chair that doesn't move or whatever. And then when you get there, it's just so undulating and up and down way more than you would imagine. Mm-hmm. It's like the game, you're static. And then suddenly on the track, you're actually up and down like a yo-yo. It's like, it's amazing, an amazing difference.
Yeah,
what a place! What a
super!
Place.
It's super bumpy. There's so many turns. It's so long. The elevation changes. You have to take that into consideration. It is super narrow. And I mean, just my very limited virtual experience. I can only imagine real life. And I know a lot of people, or a lot of racers, have issue with Nürburgring. A lot of people have lost their lives on that track, so I don't know if that has anything to do with them taking away the 24-hour race.
They did.
It is.
No, they did take away. They taken the 24-hour from the Nürburgring.
I don't think they do the 24-hour Nürburgring anymore. Okay. So I don't know.
I think they did. They did this year for sure. They did it.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
But it's all GT cars though, Bob. They don't let the faster cars go. So there definitely are limits. But the GT3 cars are so fast around there now. It's incredible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's definitely dangerous. It's definitely a crazy place.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, the crashes there are like plane wrecks.
Yeah.
It's incredible how strong the cars are now. That more guys aren't hurt there, I think. I mean, unfortunately, most people that get hurt there are the people that do the public days. Mm-hmm. That's really dangerous.
Yeah.
But the guys racing there are fairly well protected with the cars nowadays, and barriers.
Yeah, the
Barriers
safety.
being closed. The barriers being closed make a mess, but it means that you generally bounce off and around, and bits fly off and everything.
Yeah.
But you're not like going a long way with the car out of control and you hit like head on or something. It tends to be a glancing blow, with some of these crashes there.
Yeah, the safety measures have come a long way,
Yeah,
with the Hans device, and yeah, it's like you're talking about, like a lot of tracks are being redesigned and all that. So yeah, that's
an incredible place, and so it was absolutely on my bucket list. And I didn't go there till 2017, thanks to Charlie Putman and Charles Espinlove and Joe Foster. They've been racing over there now. They they run with Shane Lewis. I just didn't have enough time to keep going over there, but I was lucky enough to run with them in 2017, and they're still running. They still do their stuff over there. I'm sure they'll be doing Dubai 24 hour and all that. And I was lucky enough in 17 to do all of this stuff with them, including Dubai, and it's fantastic. So 17 was a load of fun running with them. Yeah, it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've got to get over there. I don't like you said. I'll ride a bicycle around the thing. I don't care if it takes me 24 hours. I don't care.
There's so many cars you can rent. There's so many cars you can rent, and then
really?
Yeah. There's so many places around there that rent a car for the ring specifically. Don't take your rental car around there because they know they look at the GPS and then you get this thing out of your mind. So don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Yeah.
I did look at packages when we decided about to plan this trip, and I did look at packages, and they're a little bit expensive, but for everything that you're getting, I think it's actually pretty affordable, especially if you split it however many ways. Yeah. So that's probably what we're gonna do.
Certainly think about it. That'd be great. Yeah.
That's probably how we're gonna do it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another question that came in from I think a coworker, maybe a buddy of mine that I used to work with, but they want to know, like, all your time spent behind the wheel, what's the absolute scariest moment you've ever experienced?
Well, I think it was probably Daytona in 1994. There was I was coming off the banking with in a Corvette, and the car was had a problem with fuel that I didn't know about, and it had a leak. I smelled gasoline as I came by the pits, but two cars were coming out the pits, and I thought maybe they were venting some fuel, and I smelled fuel. Went through the first international horseshoe, went around to the next one, and then to the second international horseshoe. By the time I got down there and I braked for it, I realized that the smell was still there, and it got really strong under braking. And I looked down at my feet, and literally gasoline was washing down the firewall by my feet. It was on the floor of the car. And at that moment, it ignited. And so I went into the horseshoe and sort of kept the car turning. But halfway through the horseshoe, when it caught fire, the car was just enveloped in flames. I couldn't see anything out the front. I was trying to keep my neck down because the flames were on top of me. It was going out the window. But it wasn't in my face. It wasn't here because it was, so the fuel was down there, right? So it's seeking oxygen and going out. But I was getting burned in the back of my neck, and I couldn't see below my knees because it was on fire.
Wow.
As I came to a stop on the side of, I didn't know where I was exactly. I just stopped the car. It was about 5 to 5 p.m. The fire people from that corner station had already left. There was nobody there. They had gone to the other side of the track, and they were thinking, it's almost time to go. They weren't there. And so I didn't know this at the time because I couldn't see anything, but there was nobody there to put this out. I tried to unhook the belts. They wouldn't unhook.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So I'm basically going like you kind of twist and you twist and you twist, and you're thinking, wait, this is crazy. I'd already put the window net down, and I was like trying to pull myself out of the car.
Right.
And it was like this, and I was doing this, and I'm like, this isn't working. It won't release. And I realized it was going too far. Normally when you turn it this much, it releases, or this much. There was something wrong with the mechanism. and
Right.
I'm burning at this point. So I'm in there by now 30 seconds, 35 seconds, and then my feet are hurting.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is crazy. I kind of almost like started thinking about the fact that my feet are burning, and then I went, dude, you got to figure this out. So what had happened was the mechanism was old and it wasn't working properly. And I realized that I had to turn it, hold it, and then turn it again, and it resisted. And then I turned it back the other way, and it popped. Finally, it popped, and that was a minute, and according to a minute, 5-10 seconds.
Had to seem like an eternity, though.
Yes, and I flew out of the window. I mean, literally, I flew out of the window. I landed I thought I was on the grass. I was on the track. And I landed with my thumb like this, broke it in 4 places.
Ow!
All my weight went on the thumb, right, straight down. I didn't know I'd broken it. I, fractured it, right? So bang, bang, bang. So I'm at the side of the track. Literally everything's smoking down below. I mean, my shoes are like smoking. It looks like it's ridiculous. I'm trying to take my shoes off because my feet are really hurting. I'm trying to take my shoes off, and I'm doing this with the lace like this, and I'm like, why can't I hold the lace? My thumb is like floppy. I didn't know. I mean, your adrenaline is going like 500 miles an hour. I couldn't take my damn shoes off, right? So it was insane. So the mechanism was a recalled piece that hadn't been recalled. It was a car that I wasn't supposed to be in. I did a favor for somebody else because I had my suit on. The car I was supposed to be driving didn't do. And he said, Andy, can you jump in this one? I mean, everything was wrong, right? Plane wreck, everything lined up wrong. And essentially in that car at that time with this not opening, that's probably the time when I thought, this may not be good. And I'm perfectly okay. I haven't even crashed. And I can't get out of this thing. This is nuts. Bottom line, the next day they checked. They understood that there had been a recall piece. They went back to check the fixture of the car. The car was just trashed. And bottom line, the fire extinguisher system wasn't something that was connected correctly either. And it didn't matter because what was happening is the fuel rail had broken, and even though I shut the car off, it didn't shut off the fuel. And so the fuel was just continuing to feed the fire, and it was huge. So the next day when they went back, they reconnected the belts, and the thing just spun. It never. The last time it released was when I got out of the car. And after that, it had broken. The little peg had been wobbly. It released me one time, and then it fell out. So I was so close to not actually being able to get out, and the fire guys weren't there. And that's no detriment to it, just with stuff, It came back. I was okay. Nobody cared. It was fine. I mean, it's not a problem. It's just at that moment that was extraordinarily awakening.
I would imagine.
I dodged a bullet. Yeah, I dodged a bullet with that. Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting in a car on fire, literally.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got second-degree burns to my feet, front of my knee, legs, and the back of my neck a little bit as well. But luckily I recovered. It was all right. And my thumb recovered finally. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's all good.
It was crazy.
We're all happy that you're here. So.
And then brake loss. I've had 3 complete brake failures. That sucks. When you're doing flat out 150 plus at Elkhart and you've got no brakes.
Yeah,
you're just looking for where am I going to land?
It's a completely helpless feeling. I can only imagine.
That's a helpless feeling. 3 times. I can remember
3 times.
Really, really well.
Yeah. Okay, so another question from my dad. He was just curious about this. You don't have to elaborate. He was really interested in what kind of car collection you have.
I don't have a car collection. I don't have that ability to do that. I wish.
Oh, don't be modest.
No. I don't have a car collection, mate. No, I don't. I've been lucky enough to have, a few Porsche GT3s and Corvette here and there. But I don't collect cars. I don't collect, I don't have the space, and I don't do that. So
okay. No. I mean,
yeah. Yeah,
I drive
I know people that, it's one of those things like I know people that have car collections, and it's much cheaper to know people that have.
Right. I mean, don't feel bad. I drive a piece of crap Blazer by choice. I do.
Oh, no, yeah, I love cars. I love cars, but I wouldn't be collecting them.
Yeah.
You know, I've had more motorcycles than cars over the years. I'm still a motorcycle fan. I still love bikes.
Nothing wrong with that. I know people that
No,
I have quite a few people that prefer two wheels over four wheels that I work with. So
I
yeah,
love both. And the
nothing
cars
wrong
was
with it.
always my dream. Cars was the dream. It was just, you know, it just wasn't possible early on at all. So,
Yeah,
but it's worked out.
I understand. Believe me. Okay, so kind of a continuance of that question. What's the your favorite car that you've ever owned? That you know of what you have owned.
Wow. Well, there's a few. I mean, Honda S2000, Honda Civic Type R, 2005 Corvette Z06, Porsche GT3, 991.2 RS. Gosh, old Viper GTS. Had a Viper GTS in '97. It was awesome. And I'll just have to say that little Volkswagen GTI Rabbit from 1983 has a very soft spot for that car.
Well, I would hope so. I mean
Yeah.
that's the one that got you started. So yeah, I would hope so.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so you mentioned the Viper. I want to get your opinion on, you know, when they discontinued it. What did you think of that?
It didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me. I have a very good friend of mine who works for Blue Origin, and he is a fan of the muscle cars. He's just got himself a GT350. He got one of the last Vipers, and there's a real solid base of enthusiasts that love those cars. But when you look at the pure performance aspect, they had their time in the 90s. And certainly had, you know, some time into the early 2000s, but it was going to be impossible to get the weight out of the car efficiently that they could. But the last generation Viper, the ACR, was astonishing, and you know, an incredible feat of engineering as a street weapon, track weapon from the time. And I think that was a fitting testament to, you know, a conclusion, a summary right there. An amazing car. Yeah. And I think it pushed a lot of people into they pushed the horsepower levels, they pushed the performance level, they pushed the no apologies. This is a car that it's a performance car with a really big capital P. You know, it was loud. It did ridiculously terrible miles per gallon, and it went like heck. You know, it was a fantastic piece, and I think it pushed a lot of people into these where we are now with cars that are just. I mean, if you don't have 700 horsepower, then what are you messing around at? You know, what do you just go to Walmart? You know, I mean, it's like 700 horsepower, mate. You got to have that. It's incredible now. I mean, I remember when the first 300 horsepower cars were out there. You know, I mean, that was just mega horsepower in street cars.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah,
boy, now.
I mean, you're getting 4-cylinder cars that make 300 plus.
Well, look at the Civic Type R.
Right, exactly.
300, no torque steer, front wheel drive only. I mean, incredible.
Yeah. And then you have the Focus RS that makes 350. You know, you're getting some of the Mercedes, you know, the what is it, the A45 AMG.
Yeah,
you know, that thing's putting what, 400 plus.
Yeah, 400 plus.
So yeah, I mean, you know, the technology's come like head and shoulders above what it used to be. So yeah, I mean, I get it.
Absolutely. And you know, thank goodness we have some nannies. Otherwise, we'd be missing a lot more people.
Okay, so I was on your website again today, actually, and I looked at some of your journalism posts, because you are you still writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm with CNET now. CNET Roadshow, Auto Week. I did a little bit with Auto Week,
Right.
And then Automobile / Automobile Motor Trend. did a little bit for Motor Trend and automobile in the writing side. I'd always wanted to write, and got an opportunity to do some stories with automobile. Matt Morrison, the editor of Motor Trend right now, is a good buddy of mine. And Matt gave me an opportunity to write, and I said, I'll do it, but you've got to be honest with me. And if my stuff isn't any good and you have to spend a whole load of time editing, I don't want to do it. And I hoped it might work. That was a bucket list thing, to actually try and write a little bit for a car magazine. And lo and behold, for 6 years, I did, over 35 stories in the magazine, including the very last issue of Automobile. And so, he said, "Yeah, you're all right. You can write. Don't worry about it. It's good." But I try really hard to make things interesting when I do.
Right, and I read a couple of your articles. I read the whole thing where you did the old the old ZR1 versus the new ZR1. That one was actually very interesting because I love the Corvette. I always have. My dad also. So it was interesting, like the contrast from old to new. Obviously, the ZR1 was obviously started in the 70s, but it wasn't a separate model until the 90s, like you said in your article. And then compared to the new one, which is insanely radical. It was just really interesting the way you kind of like compared the two, but separated them also. And some of your quotes were really good too. The part about where you were going into a turn and you stepped on the brake and your eyeballs popped out of your head. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah,
and
then
there was another one.
It had to be the new one.
Yeah. And then there was another one from the engineer that worked on it, talking about who would want a self-driving Corvette that would be like having a self-kissing girlfriend.
Yeah, that was Taj Jupiter. Taj Jupiter said that. Yeah, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah,
it was. It's a fantastic analogy. Yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, so I had to put it in there.
Yeah, and then I read the one about the mean mower, I think it was called.
Oh, that was so much fun.
I'm sure it was.
Awesome, 150.
I mean, a lawnmower with 200 horsepower. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was so fun. It was so much fun.
It had to be a little frightening, though, right? A little, just a little.
I was hoping it would slow down. The brakes and it moved around a lot between shifts. It wasn't, you really had to steer it. So it was like, okay. It really got my attention.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
But I was so excited to get on the thing. And then the little bypass video that we have, online somewhere. I mean, it sounds so awesome. It was great fun. Yeah, that was awesome. That was great. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the modifications they made to it, the modifications that they made to it to enhance the power and all that. I can only imagine how that thing sounded. I actually posted in the group about it recently. I was like, why? But then I read the article that you wrote, and I was like, okay, it's fun,
It was a design technology. Let's do it. Why not? We got nothing else to do for a few months. Let's build this thing. And then it became the world record, and it gets a lot of attention. So once you get the marketing people excited, you get budget, right? That's what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure. So when I initially saw a different article about it, I posted in the group, and I was like, why? What's the point? Blah blah blah. But I actually read your article. I read a little bit further into it, and it makes sense. And it was fun, So yeah, it was. I don't know. That was just one of the other ones that caught my eye, and I read. And, you, my friend, can definitely write. So.
Well, again, thank you. I enjoy it, and it's nice to hear you say that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't really have any more questions. I was going to give you an opportunity to talk about your foundation. So take as much time as you want. We have some younger listeners that actually would benefit from hearing you speak about it. So, let's get into that. Take it away.
Yeah, the idea for Give Back Project, my mother and my godmother in particular were charity minded. When I was a kid, 8, 10, 9, 11, whatever, I would, you get to play soccer with your friends one day, and your mom would say, "You're coming with me to help some people in the village. I'm going to do some laundry. You can come help. You cut the grass. You can, clean the leaves up." Because I was too young to stay by myself, right? And that was the thing. That was just what you did. The social services weren't as extensive as they are these days. And so you knew that people were older, they couldn't get out, they might not be able to get to the shops. So you go do the shopping for them, or you go do the laundry for them, and just make sure they're all right, and hang out with them and talk with them for a couple of hours. And, just make sure they're okay. Yeah. So that was not something I particularly enjoyed when I was 8 years old, because my friends, I go by my friends, walk by with my mom, but friends are playing soccer, and it was, but I did it. And I think something stuck. And she was very clear. She said, never be so busy in your life that you cannot have a hand or a warm piece of advice for somebody. Never be that busy that you can't take time for somebody else. And that's essentially how it came back. And by the mid-90s, I was looking for something to give back, and traffic safety came to mind. Mm-hmm. Having said that, once I started with the traffic safety stuff, it went from like going to high schools, talking to high school students, coming up with curriculums for them to understand that driving is, a very serious business.
Definitely.
When you on the racetrack is one thing, and on the street is a completely different one. There are, in a sense, way more variables on the street than there are on the racetrack. Mm-hmm. And there are certain places to try these things and certain places to not. And that's kind of how it started with the Traffic Safety Foundation. Was a give back project, but I pretty much realized early on that I needed to make sure that I had information for the kids, for the teachers, traffic safety education teachers, and also then I went to corporate employees and to help family members, parents protect their own children. And it's just gone a full gamut of things. So essentially the foundation now gives out video. You can look at video materials on the website, no cost. If you're a teacher, you can get DVDs. I will mail them to you at no cost, not shipping, not handling. The whole point of having a foundation to me is you help. And if people are generous enough to give you a little bit of money, that money goes to give out the information. You don't then ask for more money. That's just me. So that's essentially what's happened. And on the website, thousands of people visit the website. Tens of thousands of DVDs have been given out to teachers who utilize the materials in classrooms to help these kids. And it's a little bit different. The thing is, when parents turn the child's safety seat around to face front, that's when the kids start picking up the driving habits and behaviors from the parents that aren't necessarily the best.
Right.
We go down the road today. I just did a 2,000-mile road trip. And it's like, the number of times, I think about 8 times, I had to absolutely evade being hit by somebody that was distracted, just coming into my lane, making a lane change, or just drifting into the lane. And I certainly would have been hit if I wasn't paying 100% attention. I had to go on the hard shoulder. I had to make lane changes. I had to brake, deviate, whatever it was. And at some point I was pulling a trailer and I had to do it. I can't imagine how difficult it is for some of these 18-wheel drivers out there to deal with these people just drifting into lanes. But essentially traffic safety has just become a big thing. And now I have 5 separate productions and 5 different PSAs, and they're used all over the country. Tens of thousands of driver education teachers are using stuff to supplement their mandated curriculums with information that really help the kids understand a little bit more. It's no good to tell them, don't do this and don't do that. You have to explain, look, I'm old. I've survived this long. I want you to survive this long. It takes a while to build the skills. I just made one on street racing. I just made a PSA on street racing, which traffic safety education, they tend to steer away from that. Well, I made a video on it, and it really explains time and distance. To explain in a clear video, this is why speeding in areas where you shouldn't be is a problem. You can maintain control of your car, but you cannot react fast enough when somebody pulls out in front of you. And it graphically shows how distance and time are impacted from 30 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour. And it's, things like that. And it's just, I talk about street racing, street stunting, things that are not really addressed by general driver education, but it's very important because there's a section of the public, new drivers, that really want to run hard, and they do it in the wrong places. And I just encourage them to just think twice. If you're doing a drag race with your buddy, you do it to 45 miles an hour in a 45 zone if you must, and a cop doesn't see you, and a police officer doesn't see you, leaving the line. But for goodness sake, somebody know when to back it off. You don't have to keep going. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just think, please think, because when it all goes pear-shaped, it never goes back.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it.
Physics never quits. And it's just basic talk like this. And for parents with young children in the back of the car who are manipulating their phones, they're texting, they're talking to the phones, they're saying hands-free calls are safe. They're not safe. Hands-free calls means your mind is not on what you're doing. There's so many things that parents, young parents can learn. Grandparents love my stuff because their own kids, they worry to death how their own kids are driving with the grandkids. So it's just it's a give back project. And like I say, it's something that I really enjoy doing. And I speak all over the country. It's just about to start up again, COVID depending, obviously. There's a lot of Zoom conferences over the last 18 months.
I'd imagine,
Anyway, hopefully we can get back to in-person conferences this year. But it's thank you for letting me speak about it. I mean, it's traffic safety education. It's the Traffic Safety Education Foundation, but tsef.org. If anyone wants, you can donate, great. But the bottom line is all my materials are there for free. And if you're a teacher and you're hearing this and you need DVDs, just fill in the form, send it. I'll mail out the DVDs to
It's absolutely wonderful, the service that you're providing.
And it's different. Stuff's different. It's real different. That's why the teachers like it.
And I read up about it a little bit on your website, and I 100% agree with you with the driver testing. The testing is a joke. Honestly, it really is. 100% it's a joke.
100% it's a joke.
It is.
It's tragic. It's a tragic joke. But you know what? If they tried to make the test harder, it would be the parents that would say, hey, I've waited 16 years for this one to take that one to basketball practice. We're not making the test hard. He's going to pass and he's going to take this kid. It's unfortunate.
It is. It really is.
The logic is not there. The convenience overrides the logic. And if that's the case, and it's a reality, and I'm not going to push against it, I'm certainly not going to Washington and try and change the law. That's nuts. It's not going to happen. Some people may try to change laws, but it doesn't change behavior. What I try to do is explain to parents, younger parents, because if you want to talk to a parent, you shouldn't be talking to them when the kid's 15 or 16. You want their attention, talk to them when the kid is 4, 5, and 6. And then you have videos where I've talked to 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and they completely ratted out their parents about their distracted driving with an unscripted questions being answered. And then parents go, I get it. Because you are teaching the kid by them watching you, they will drive exactly the same way you do. You get by, you've got the experience. They will have no experience when they start driving on their own, and they will drive exactly the same way you do. Speeding up the yellow lights, rolling through stop signs, ignoring speed limits, talking on the phone, all the rest of it, all of it. It's no good when they've watched you since 5 years old, 4 years old, when they've been aware of it, watching you, then to say, hey, don't you touch the phone while driving, please.
Yeah,
Really?
that's not going to do anything.
It's not realistic, is it?
Yeah.
So we can try, mate. We can try.
That's all we can do is try. But yeah, like I said,
that's what I do.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing that you do. Keep it going as long as you can. Hopefully you reach millions of people with your teachings, and hopefully teachers actually do request your information, and they actually put it into practice. Yeah,
there are hundreds of thousands of driver ed teachers out there, but I'll tell you, they are very grateful, and man, they work so hard. Many of these driver ed teachers, they really, really try so hard. I just trying to help them. They're the ones that get in the trenches and do it. I'm just trying to give them some ammunition.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, okay, so do you want to mention anything else about it?
No. It's there. The information's there. If you have kids 4 years old, don't think you don't need driver education. You do. And I have specific information for you so that you understand when the kid's in the car, drive differently than when you're driving by yourself. I wish you would drive this way all the time, but certainly when kids of any age are in the car, don't touch your phone.
Right.
And don't talk hands-free. It's no better. That's it. Just do it when the kids are in the car. When they're in school, your kids are only in the car like 10% of the time you drive your car. You can do it. You can do it. But it's the convenience thing. We've just become so used to it.
Yeah. We've all gotten spoiled with the cell phones and all technology as in general. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And even with like the radio, GPS, all that crap. It's all a distraction, and people exploit it, don't pay attention, and you're right.
Yes, it really hurts the driving standards.
Yeah,
it really does.
All right, well, fantastic, man. Like I say, I hope everyone that can will utilize it, and all the young listeners listening, take that to heart. Yeah,
just go utilize it. There's stuff on there for new drivers. They need the facts. The facts are there.
Yeah.
The facts are there, not to say don't do this, don't do that. Just when you get the facts, if you learn enough, sometimes you learn enough to go, okay, I know this now, and I can change the way I drive a little bit here. And because I don't want to be a stupid statistic. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Use the information.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to get into the second part 2 of Wheel Talk. I do have a follow-up to the earlier question. So let's do that. Wheel Talk, bro, again. Okay. So Wheel Talk question number 2. It's kind of a continuation of the first one. I want to get your opinion, not necessarily on only American cars, but the industry in general. What is your opinion of the current direction that the industry is taking, the all EV movement, all that?
Wow. I think it's interesting. Engineering wise, I'm not an engineer, but I'm working with Draco, the guys that have an EV car. That they've been developing over the last few years, and I've been part of that development as a test driver for them, but it helped developing the torque vectoring system and things like that with an engineer out of Finland, and it's been an amazing project. I like anything that drives. I enjoy driving. It doesn't have to be a sports car or a race car. I really, I enjoy. I like minivans. I thought the Pontiac Aztek was a great vehicle.
Well, you're a minority there, my friend.
I know, but I thought it was great. I thought that camping stuff at the back was just the best thing since sliced bread. I just thought it was awesome.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. I would rent one every chance I got. Underrated vehicle, I believe. So anyway, but where it's going, I think the electric market is actually fun. The cars can be very fun to drive. I mean, when you think about the usage of cars nowadays, the lack of miles that most people do, the EV vehicles make some sense. If you look at the infrastructure and then look at where the electricity comes from, you get into a whole different argument about whether there's practicality there.
Absolutely.
But that's the way it's going, because pollution, pollution issues are a problem. Oil is a finite resource. Obviously, coal is a finite resource, although we have hundreds of years of coal apparently. But the debate there tends to be something I don't necessarily get into, because it gets it gets a bit political.
Right.
But I think in practical sense, the electric vehicles are becoming better and better. The batteries are becoming better. Where you can produce the batteries, I mean, maybe we'll produce them on the moon at some point, because they are pretty rough to produce. The chemicals there are difficult to deal with. So you've got other aspects to think about there. But let's just talk about the vehicles themselves. They are very heavy. The charging, is getting better. So I think as the charging becomes shorter time, there will be a greater acceptance of the vehicles as far as being able to travel across country when people need to. The convenience of going anywhere, anytime, which is very important, I think, to the US market in particular.
Yeah.
I think hydrogen fuel cells is still a thing. I think the alternative biofuels is sort of an underlier there. I think the guys that like internal combustion engines are really putting some money and some hope into biofuels, so that they can keep their internal combustion engine hopes alive. Yeah. I think it's a very interesting time. I think it's an extremely interesting time. I think that, if you have a chance to get a 700 horsepower car, keep it in your garage. Maybe I'll start a car collection, and have some things that actually, so to keep some stuff there. Might be a great business for racetracks down the world, where we've got experiential things, and you've got garages and more garages and more garages where you've got guys with internal combustion engine cars. That might be a thing down the road.
Yeah.
But I have no issue with PDK gearboxes over manuals. I don't have a thing about that. Likewise, I have no problem driving an electric vehicle. I released an i3, a BMW i3 for a year. Just to see what it would be like about 4 or 5 years ago when it first came out. And I enjoyed it. I enjoy the technology. I enjoy the changing this stuff. And there's no doubt that the electric vehicle, I mean, look at the Tesla Plaid. I mean, holy mackerel. I mean, the performance.
Have you driven one yet?
I've driven, no, not the Plaid. I haven't. No, okay. I haven't driven the Plaid. I've driven the Tesla, the what is it called? The ludicrous mode. I've driven that. Yeah. It's pretty excessive. The Porsche Taycan Turbo S, 2.3 second with no rollout, which is like a 2.1 with a rollout, which is sort of Tesla Plaid area, performance wise. Pretty substantial, pretty amazing.
I don't have a lot of experience with this electric at all. I've driven one. It was a Volkswagen ID4. They were just doing a thing at the one of the local malls up here in Nashville, and I was just on a whim. Yeah, just on a whim, I drove one, and my initial impression, it was very weird. Not in a bad way. It was just weird.
Different, right?
It was very different. It was. I didn't hear a thing. Like it was so quiet. Like that was the weirdest part.
Yeah.
The overall experience. I mean, I had a smile on my face the whole time. If that tells you anything. It was more of just an intrigued smile. Not like I was enjoying it, which I didn't. I wasn't not enjoying it, but. Overall, it was just weird. I'm not against EVs. I'm kind of with you on the whole thing. There's a place for them. There's a market for them. Obviously, Tesla's sell well, and more manufacturers are starting to make electric vehicles. General Motors, just my personal experience, General Motors already has the Bolt. They've dabbled in hybrids before. They didn't do great. They didn't do horrible. But yeah, the Bolt is the Spark was their first. Yeah, the Spark was their
the Volt, right? The Volt and then the Bolt. I think it was the Volt first and the Bolt. And then you go back to the EV1. Don't forget the EV1.
Well, yeah. The EV1 was way before its time.
Way before its time.
Yeah, it was way before its time.
Yeah.
It was very innovative, but yeah, it was just way before its time. It didn't get the respect it deserved. And I think only one example still exists. But yeah, they did an electric Spark. And then, the Bolt is the first fairly well-received electric vehicle that General Motors has produced, minus the spontaneous combustion. But we won't go there. But the upcoming ones down here in Spring Hill were actually in development for the first electric Cadillac SUV. I don't know. Okay. So you've seen it.
I don't know anything other than reading about it. Yep.
Right. So you've seen it. We just started doing engineering vehicles. Personally, I like it. I really do. And then General Motors just released, or they just debuted the upcoming electric Silverado. I don't know if you've seen that.
Just pictures. Yeah.
Right.
Just pictures and bits and pieces. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the industry is taking that turn and to go toward that direction 100% by I think the latest manufacturer has announced it 2050.
Yeah. I mean, I think traffic safety, we talk about this a little bit. I do, that we're in this crossover period between the driver aid technology, the semi-autonomous / fully autonomous. There's no fully autonomous vehicles out there anywhere.
Currently, no.
No, they don't. There's level, the Teslas are very advanced in many ways with autopilot, but you're still talking at level 2.5. Level 4 is autonomous within certain stipulations, like we can't go down gravel roads. They're going to avoid snow. There's no way at this point that any autonomous vehicles are going to be sold in, Boston and Michigan for the winter because it can't figure itself out in snow. That technology doesn't exist anywhere yet. It will when GPS gets better. They'll figure it out eventually, so they can go anywhere in snow and not drive off the road. But that level 4 technology is coming. Level 5 will come in areas like Arizona, Southern California, down the south. But I think it's going to be a long road, and you're going to have a tremendous amount of infrastructure still there for internal combustion engines. And I don't know, I'd say 25 to 30 years from now, at least, you're still going to have 50% internal combustion, and many cars that don't have the technology, the nanny technology, to really, the I2I, the infrastructure to vehicle, the V2I, the V2V technology, it's going to have to be retrofitted on some of these old cars. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So you've got traffic signals talking to cars, saying, one car says, oh, I see a red light runner's coming. It's never going to stop. And your car starts to brake, even though you've got a green light, because it senses, it can't see it, but it can sense this thing coming. And your car brakes. Well, the one behind you, it doesn't have any technology. Oh, it's half asleep, and just, so they're going to rear end you at 40 miles an hour faster than would have happened in the old days.
Yeah.
It's like, I think there's a lot of interesting scenarios that have come out of this.
Yeah, the technology, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the technology has come a long way. The technology's there, but you're right. The infrastructure has a long way to go before it can support fully autonomous vehicles. Tesla Autopilot, General Motors. They have the Super Cruise. Now they call it the Ultra Cruise. Ford has the Blue Cruise.
Yeah, sure.
They're all coming up with these semi-autonomous technologies, and they do work to a point. But you're right.
We are the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
We are the guinea pigs.
We absolutely are.
Absolutely the guinea pigs. They are testing this out on the public with options that you pay for.
Right.
It works, but if you read the manuals, which are now gone this thick to this thick, all the manuals have all these warnings, hundreds of warnings that say it should work, but here's a list of areas where it might not.
Right.
Bad weather, reflective signs, going under bridges, etc. There's so many. They have to put that in there. I get it, but it doesn't always work.
No,
and what happens
absolutely
is you get lulled into this sense of complacency by using it, and then when it doesn't work, you're completely spaced out, and then you have to react immediately.
Right.
It's not possible. So they say, okay, we've got all this hands-free driving thing, but pay attention to your driving at all times while you're using hands-free. What's the point?
Exactly. There's no point. There's no point.
Yeah, there's no point. It defies logic.
Mm-hmm.
But marketing is having a field day with it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Driver education people like myself are just pulling their hair out. It's like, you're kidding me. I mean, there are commercials out there where people hands off the wheel, having a good time, singing a song and clapping and all this and driving down the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're just going, oh gosh, this is really good. The kids are just going to love this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like the theory of a self-driving vehicle. You see it in TV and movies all the time, but in
Mm-hmm.
reality, we still have a very long way to go before it's even feasible.
Sure.
Like I said, the technology has come a long way. Some of it is there, but just there's too many cars on the road for one. Too many people can't afford vehicles that can drive themselves. That's another thing.
That's true.
I mean, the technology is so expensive still. That's another part of the problem.
The options for some of this stuff are thousands of dollar option on top of a car that's already $50,000.
Exactly.
And you want the full safety package. It's like, well, wait a minute, hang on, my car should be safe, period. I didn't have to pay extra for more safety.
Yeah.
And really the safety is technology, which you're the guinea pig for. So you pay $5,000 extra to be a guinea pig for a test. Great. No, thanks.
I mean, technology is great and it advances very, very quickly.
For sure.
Going back to just the EV stuff, the ranges have gotten drastically longer.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, charging times have come down, but there's still, for a lot of people, they're still not where they would want them to be. You can't drive 400 plus miles and then pull over at a charging station, charge for 5 minutes and continue on. You can't do that yet. I know it's coming. It is coming.
Right.
But for a lot of people, and myself included, with the cost of these vehicles and the fact that you can't charge in the amount of time you can fill up your gas tank, that's going to keep a lot of people from making that transition.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think having just done, like I said, a 2,000-mile trip in the last, 2 or 3 days, driving wise, it was interesting because one of the things I was looking at was how long did it actually take me to come off the freeway to get to a gas station? Because generally speaking, if you've done 200 or 300 miles, you're going to use the facilities. You may well grab a couple of things from the store. There are people in there. It takes time. And my general average time for the stops was around 15 minutes.
Right.
You actually lost about 15 minutes. And, so generally speaking, and that's not including like we might just stop for a sandwich. There's a, there's a fast food place next door. You can go over there, grab it, sit in the parking lot and eat it rather than trying to eat it on the road.
Right.
And then that adds on another 10. So it's 25 minutes. So if you walk to the fast food place, grab the stuff and all the time charging, I could see, 10 to 20 minutes is about normal if you're going across country for any normal sort of stretch your legs, use the facilities, grab something to eat. I think the arguments sometimes or the discussions tend to be like, I want to fill my, car and get back on the road.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you've done 200 or 300 miles, you're definitely using the facilities. You're probably buying some more water. You're probably thinking you want to eat something anyway. So I think the argument or the discussions tend to be a bit unrealistic. They tend to get a bit polarized.
That's true.
My average stop, not including eating, was about 15 minutes
Yeah,
for buying a bits and doing this and then getting back on the road. So,
yeah,
but I agree with you. The perception is it's
yeah,
not convenient.
that's
Because if
true.
you just want to, because if you only need gas, yeah, you still got your 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. So
Yeah.
I understand. But if you're doing the cross country trip, what are you trying to, it takes you an extra hour for the extra fill-ups.
And you do make a good point. On the longer trips, people do tend to stop for a little bit longer. Go to the bathroom, eat something.
Yeah. And I
Right.
wasn't hanging around. I mean, I wasn't hanging around, but people were in there for way longer than.
Oh yeah. And recently I have started seeing some of the charging times. You can get like 100 miles in 5 minutes. Okay, that's great, but the full range is 400 miles. So how much longer is that going to take to get?
Yeah.
So I see
the Lucids just I saw one test with the Lucid over 520 miles.
Yeah, the top line Lucid gets like 520 miles. That's crazy to me. I mean, that's insane.
Well, I hope it comes with a bathroom because what are you going to do?
Well, that, and it's a hefty price tag too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it is a hefty price tag. But,
yeah, those are what
520 miles. That's a substantial. I think you're stopping, anyway within that 520 miles. But
you're definitely going to stop. I mean, 520 miles. That's what 8-10 hours.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're definitely going to have to stop.
Yeah.
So that's a different story. The typical EVs now, they're between 300 and 400 miles.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, that's the norm right now. Lucid's taking it to a completely different level.
Yeah.
I like the car. They're attractive vehicles. I hope that the build quality is a little bit better than the other American EV brand right now. I'm not gonna name names, but I've seen a lot of videos of people with that type of vehicle, and the build quality is very questionable, especially for the price tag.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping that the Lucid has kind of addressed that problem. I mean, they got Motor Trend Car of the Year in their first year. I don't really
noticed that.
Always put much stock in that, but because it's all subjective. But they're a reputable magazine, and they, a lot of their editors know what the hell they're talking about. So, and I have no experience with a Lucid. I've never seen one in person. I've never had my hands on it, so I have no idea. But I like the car. I've seen it in pictures. I've read about it. Everything I have seen, I do like. So we'll see. But
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm excited to see the future. I mean, I'm excited to see the future. I don't just blanketly discount anything.
Yeah.
I like all the stuff that's new, and let's see where it goes. May the best person win. It's like kind of.
Since I've been doing this in the last year that I've been doing this podcast, I've kind of let my mind open up a little bit. I was very closed-minded to foreign brands, anything non-GM. I was kind of like tunnel vision, but I've opened my mind a little bit. So I respect other marques, other countries, what they do with vehicles, other technologies.
And they all learn off each other too. And there's more and more partnerships coming as well, which I think is a help. There's more partnerships. I mean, GM's partnering with people, and Porsche's partnering with people, and all these other brands are partnering. I think it's they all understand they've got to work together to get this. They don't need to all be inventing the new wheel.
Yeah, that's become the whole.
That's going to help all of us.
And you're 100% right. The whole partnership thing it's been around for a while, but it's become much more common recently. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they're quickly learning that you kind of have to piggyback off each other, or even use the exact same technology, develop the same technologies, just to survive in the industry.
And develop quicker as well.
Yeah,
because it's like any kind of think tanks. Ultimately, you've got 3 or 4 people that have been doing the same thing. You bring them together in a think tank, and you've got somebody that understands this part, and this part, and you just suddenly fly forward a lot faster than you will trying to do it individually when somebody else has already solved the problem that this guy had, and then this person had another one. And it's with engineering, I've done so much engineering driving over the years, and there's a genuine interest from engineers. The engineers tend to be a lot more open-minded than some of the other people that work maybe in the car company. And we were a great example of that was I was testing, because I test all different kinds of manufacturers, and I was at the Corvette track, the NCM Motorsports Park, which is just across from the Corvette plant, and the guys that were over there with the new C8, and I was there testing the GT3 RS Porsche, and I did a couple of laps in the car, brought it into the garage area, and then the engineers were over there, and they wanted to see the Porsche and all this stuff, and everyone's talking about, we were talking about the Corvette with the new C8, and the Porsche engineer guys were there, and the GM engineer guys were there. They were just having a good old conversation.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah, it was all fun. It was all fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. It was
That's
really
definitely
good.
It's definitely not as cutthroat as it used to be. Like everything used to be so hush hush, so just top secret. And I know that they still camouflage pre-production vehicles, so you can't really see all the styling cues and all that. So I get that to an extent, but it's definitely not as cutthroat as it used to be. The manufacturers will collaborate with other manufacturers, even like Chevy and Ford. They collaborated on the 10-speed transmission. That's just becoming more and more popular, or common, maybe not popular, but yeah, it's happening a lot more in the industry. BMW and Toyota collaborated on the new Z4 and the Supra, which whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have opinions on that. I really don't. I don't like either one, but
That's an opinion.
Toyota and Subaru, they had that collaboration. Pontiac and Toyota collaborated. It's just, over the years, there have been a lot of those, but it's becoming a lot more common recently. And, whatever, I respect it, and I understand the need for it.
If it gives us more fun cars, I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm all for it too.
If you can't develop a new sports car because it's too cost prohibitive, yet two companies get together and say, hey, we can produce a new sports car, let's work together, and we get a new sports car out of it. As far as I'm concerned, I like a sports car on the street. I'm fine with an SUV, I'm fine with a pickup truck, but I also like the fact that we've still got a choice of sports cars, and, we've got something out there that's new, and I hope it keeps going,
Yeah. My thing with the recent trend is, a lot of manufacturers, especially over here, kind of stop producing a lot of the cars, and they transitioned into more smaller SUVs, crossovers, stuff like that. I kind of hope that trend kind of like goes in the opposite direction, because I'm a car guy. I like cars.
I do too.
I understand. People need SUVs. They need trucks. I get that. I'm not hating on them at all. I drive an SUV right now. It's albeit a piece of crap, but I have one. So I don't hate on them. I know people that have trucks, only drive trucks. So I get it. But me and my dad, a couple of my friends, they're all car all the time. So my dad, he has an older Impala. They discontinued it. My mom has a Malibu. They're going to discontinue that. It's annoying. You have to have options, and the foreign manufacturers know that, and they're still making vehicles, cars. Mm-hmm. The Germans, the UK, they're still making cars. Japan, they're still making cars. Korea, they're making cars. Over here, it's just so limited. Unless it has a super high horsepower V8, you're not going to get a car, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because I was in Scotland for automobile for the introduction of the GT4, and I was sitting at dinner next to Andres Pruninger, who's the Porsche, one of the chief lead engineers for GT cars. And the C8 had sort of just been announced, and it was not like secret or anything. And he was talking to me about the C8.
Right.
And it's amazing how many of the Porsche guys love the V8s, love the V8s. One of my buddies in North America, Frank Wiesman, who's with Porsche, he often talks to me about the fact that he just can't wait to find a really good condition C6 Z06.
All right.
He's looking for one. Now, this guy gets to drive Porsches every day, and he's looking for that. And Pruninger said this, and I think this is interesting because it says something to you as a person that likes cars and likes performance cars. At dinner, he was asking me about the C8.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was thinking, he was asking what I thought about it, and I'd driven it a tiny bit and all the rest of it. And he genuinely said, we want the C8 to succeed. He said, we need the C8 to succeed. He said, it's very hard to justify to have another 911 who are we against? We compete with the Corvette. We want this car to succeed because we are all car guys. And he was genuinely wanted the C8 to succeed.
That's great. That speaks.
Yeah, because all these engineers, man, they're enthusiasts, just like you and me. They are.
Yeah,
they
that
really
speaks volumes that a Porsche guy.
Yeah,
that speaks volumes. A Porsche guy wants the Corvette to succeed because, what is the competition?
He wants his car to go faster and be a better handling car or whatever. With the Corvette guys want the same thing, but they want the Corvette to succeed.
Honestly, I think he got his wish. The C8 is doing very well. Obviously, with the chip shortage, supplies are limited, and that's kind of annoying. We're going through that as well.
For sure.
But with the upcoming Z06 release, a lot of people are looking forward to that. That's something a lot of people are looking forward to.
Me for sure. Yeah,
me included. I've read about it. I've seen videos. It's just, when the first mid-engine came out, that was revolutionary in itself. But with the Z06, they're taking on even more new technologies that the Corvette's not seen before.
Right.
So, right. So it's just going to be interesting to see the reception that it gets.
Yes.
So yeah,
absolutely. That engine's gonna be a monster. It's gonna be massive. And I haven't driven it. I have no data, but it's I can't wait. I mean, I know it sounds good. I've heard it start up. I've heard it start up. It sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a flat plain V8, which is we're talking the the Ferrari, right? I mean, we're talking sounds. Exotic sounds. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, track numbers, times, what it can do up against its main competition. Because it's going to be a lot cheaper than everything that's going to be put up against. So, that's kind of always.
It's always been kind of the case too.
It's always been the kind of the budget supercar, if you will. It's never been really a supercar, but and that's kind of where they wanted to take it with the mid-engine layout. They wanted to be able to compete globally, but still make it affordable. And 100%, they nailed it, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for the Z06. I've been saying that since the first one came out. I can't wait for the Z06.
Yeah.
And I haven't driven it. And people say, "Oh, you've driven it. You're in Bowling Green. What? Tell us about the car." It's like I can't tell you anything because I don't know. Oh, we are right. But I haven't. I can't wait to drive it. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll get your chance behind the wheel as soon as it's presented to you.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Yeah, for sure. The
NCM
Motorsports Park, where I'm, doing some consulting out at the Motorsports Park. Sadly, the buildings there got ravaged by some of the tornadoes that came through, but the racetrack is in fine shape. And I tell you, that racetrack for the C8 and the Z06 is going to be a riot because the track is 23 turns, ups and downs. It's kind of like not to be any disrespect, though, it's a bit like a bit of mini Nurburgring. They've got a Flugplatz there. They've got some amazing corners and lot of blind hills. It's going to be it's going to be fun to get the Z06 out there, because that's where I do all those pro races, take videos, and you may have seen some of you were mentioning. But it's I can't wait to get that car out. It's made for it. It's made for it. Yeah.
I can only imagine. Like when I was up there in April for the charity event, I had a 2016 Cadillac ATS. Now it's nothing spectacular. It wasn't anything super fast. I couldn't keep up with any of the other cars that I went out there with, but the track is super fun. It's very technical. You can get good speed.
Never boring. Never.
No, absolutely not. You absolutely have to be on your game to be able to manage that track. But it's a super fun track. I can only imagine.
Come on back.
I'll come back anytime. Anytime you guys will have me, I'll come back.
All right. Well, there's an event in February. Come on back with whatever you got. There's an event in February. Yeah, there's a event in February. Yeah, you just should join up. It's gonna be great.
if it works with my work schedule, I'll come up there. I don't care. I'm only an hour away. I'll be up there.
I think it's February the 19th. Yeah. Come on up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on up.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if it works.
I'll be there hanging out, so we can maybe get on track together. That'd be fun.
That would be super fun. Absolutely. I'll accept that invitation any day.
All right. Talk to me. We'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're coming up to 2 hours. So we're gonna call it. Andy, I've had the absolute best time with you. I appreciate you coming on. Like,
my pleasure.
This is such a good time. Everybody, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch. Go like, subscribe. Do whatever it is that you can do. Leave us a comment. Whatever you want to do. Again, this has been the 1 year anniversary episode. So that was special. Andy Pilgrim, the man, he's absolutely been just awesome to have on. I don't know what else to say, honestly. Go by. Actually, I do have one more thing to say. This being the 1 year anniversary, we're running a special. You can see I'm wearing the shirt here. You buy a shirt, you buy a hat, you get it for $35. That is the special we're running for the 1 year anniversary. Normally it's $45 if you buy them separate. So you can do that. Just send us a message on YouTube or Facebook, either one. Beyond that, Andy, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully we'll see you at the track next.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Next time I can get up there, I will, and I'll let you know. What the hell? Check out Andy's foundation. Everybody utilize that information. Yeah. It's a great service that he provides. So yeah, everybody do that. But Andy, appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Cheers, bye-bye.